What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the channel. Today we're going to be going over, well, my overall experience at the BIATL Invitational Atlanta, also going over the sector in Milan and kind of talking about the meta and where it's kind of shaping up and stuff like that. Also going to be going over my deck list for the 2K where I top 8'd. The reason I'm going to go over that deck list is because from where it went from the initial start of the tournaments, so it's like from the team event into the 6Ks to where it ended up after making a bunch of adjustments, I feel like it's something I wanted to talk about. And then my overall experience with Sabine and where I'm going from here after participating in a big event like this. Before we get into anything, I also want to go ahead and give a shout out to Frank and Blonde Sabine and the Bonta Network. They put on a great event here. It's like a lot of fun. The team event in itself is like really fun. It's a good new way to play the game. And I really did enjoy it. Shout outs to Brandon and Austin, my teammates. I feel like we didn't get as far as we wanted. I'll be talking about that event as well to start off the weekend experience, but also I just still had a ton of fun with the guys. I feel like we did play pretty well, just we didn't go as far as we would like. And shout out to Maclunky Gaming. Again, I'm so unbelievably happy that I am part of this team. And I feel like we all showed up, right? We all played very well. And shout outs to Philip for winning the 6K, basically winning the main event. Great player. And he's just, that guy. He's just so good. So before we get into anything else, before like the actual event, if you guys are new here, make sure to sub button down below. Support is always appreciated. And also, if you haven't done so yet, check down the description below for Maclunky Gaming's YouTube and Twitch. Make sure you hit them up with a follow description as well. If you want to see live content, it is the streaming standard when it comes to live streaming events. Tower number 9 always does the commentating. Great commentator. It's just, again, bar none, probably the best live commentary for Star Wars Unlimited. So if you haven't done so yet, check them out. Definitely won't be disappointed. So let's go ahead and hop into the events here. I'm going to put up my team's decks that we chose to use, right? So as you see here, Sabine ECL, that's what I ran. I was on a team with Austin, or Crusher, and he ran Django Thermal Oscillator, right? We'll kind of go over that a little bit. Then we have Brandon, who ran Green CAD. That's the Maclunky special, right? Shout outs to Zach, the mastermind behind the deck originally, who won a PQ with it in the last set of PQs. But we have a bunch of guys in the team running it right now, and they're all doing very well with the deck. Very strong deck, right? So in the event, you pretty much have to, if you win the initiative, you have to put down a player. The other opponents get to match against the first guy you put down with anything that they want. So essentially they get the better matchup there, but you get to see where they put the other two, and then you can choose where you want to go after that. So essentially, if you win the initiative, you should have a better matchup in 2 out of the 3 matchups, right? But obviously you have to win 2 out of 3 of those games to move on. It was a double elimination, and we just kind of happened to fall out of the event after 4 rounds. We went 2-2. I'm not going to talk about who won in the final match or anything like that. I know we went 2-0 win, 2-0 win, 2-0 loss, and then a 2-1 loss. I'm not going to go ahead and like put anyone on blast who won, who lost in the final one. We win and lose as a team. I had a ton of fun with these guys. Another thing that I did realize, and I do feel really bad about this, in a team event like this, I ran Sabine. I felt like Sabine had good matchups into certain things that I expected people to bring to counter Jango Fett and stuff like that. But with me bringing Sabine, it made it so you could never put me down first. If we win initiative, it was always either Django or CAD that we had to put down, because Sabine has so many counters in the current meta. So I feel like I kind of like had my team on the back foot, even if we ended up winning the initiative, because the opponent pretty much knew that we would not put Sabine down first. And maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I did kind of feel bad. Maybe I should have played a better deck that went into more of the decks. Like Sabine has some good matchups to some of the decks, but not as good as maybe something like Quinlan Tarkentown. So I do feel bad about that. But again, we did pretty well. I know in the first round we 2-0'd, went up against my personal experience here. We went up against I went up against Quinlan Tarkin, not Quinlan, Cad Bane Tarkentown. Cad Bane Tarkentown has a really good matchup into Sabine, but because I play that in the local meta currently, like in my local scene so much, I have a really good understanding of how to kind of go about trying to take down that deck playing as Sabine. So I did win that 1-2-0. And then we also just won another match, and the third one didn't really matter from there, right? The second match, we ended up going up against, I ended up going up against a Quinlan Tarkentown. I ended up 2-0ing them. Again, another deck that has a pretty good matchup into Sabine, but again, another deck that I understand the matchup into it pretty well with Sabine ECL, so I feel pretty confident into those two decks, right? I then went up against, we went up against K2OD. I went up against Tada and Django Tarkentown. It's a bit rough. I do think Django has a better matchup into Sabine. The thing is that in game 2, I felt really solid. Like, I was in a decent spot, right? But he TDR'd and got a War Juggernaut that pinged everything on the board. He got the 10 damage, so he swung for 10. Then swung for 3, flipped Django, 3. So on the 5 resource turn, being able to swing for 19 damage is pretty bad for me. And it just kind of happened that there was a 19-point swing, and I ended up losing. And we ended up losing there. So then we ended up going to the loser bracket. And then we ended up playing against a Quinlan Tarkentown, a Django Tarkentown, and a Piet Blue. Piet Blue went up against our Django Tarkentown. The Django Tarkentown went up against our Cad Green. And the Quinlan Tarkentown went up against me, the Sabine player. I will not talk about who won the match and who lost, just because, again, we win and lose as a team. We just didn't take that game down. It came down to the last action of one of the games. It just is unfortunate how it turned out, but I do still feel like we played a really good team event. Again, we just wish we went a little bit further. But again, overall, super happy, super fun playing with Brandon and Austin. Great guys, great players. But yeah, ultimately, we just didn't get the job done. But we did have Maclunky Team 1 make it all the way to the finals. They went undefeated in Swiss, so they got a free pass to the finals. Really good. Where they ended up going up against KTOD. And ultimately, in the end, KTOD took the team event, but still very proud of every Maclunky team that participated. Maclunky Team 1, 2, and 3 all did very well, especially Maclunky Team 1 making it to the finals and putting on some really good shows as well. Like, they ended up going 2-1, 1-2 technically, in the loss to KTOD in the finals, but each game went to 3 games. So it's not like they got steamrolled in any which way. It's just how things kind of turned out. But again, shout outs to them. Great job. But now we're going to go ahead and talk about the 6K, right? We're going to go into the pool and kind of talk about the meta here in North America, because we are going to go into the Milan sector later on in the video after I go over my deck list and stuff like that, and kind of talk about the Django problem. And if I think that there's a Django problem, I'll kind of give my thoughts about it all. But let's go ahead and talk about the first set of top 8, right? In pool 1. First place, Grumpy Elephant, Quillen ECL. Great player. Played very well, Quillen ECL, right? Philip, you know, he's just that guy. They say that Django has a very good matchup into Han, and I think he played 4 Hans and went 3-1 against them. Great player. He's just that guy, right? Philip is so good with Han Double Yellow. We have George Hudson with Cad Colossus. Again, another good deck against Django Tarkentown. So he makes it in a third. We have Crusher Austin in with Django Fett Tarkentown. We have Symbiode with Django Fett Tarkentown. Cad Bane Green, Brandon. So he makes it in there. Crispy, shout out to you. The most unique deck for sure to make it into the top 8. We had a Von Reg Yellow. And then we had Sabine, Ren, ECL, Mitchell, right? Again, it's not all Django Fett. It's only 2 Django Fets. Not too bad there. And again, shout outs to Maclunky Gaming, because we have 3 players in the first pool of top 8 for the 6K coming out to play. And again, when looking at this, if you were just looking at this top 8, you would not feel like Django Tarkentown is a problem, right? It's not that bad here. But let's go ahead and go into pool 2, because in this event, you play in pool 1, top 8 from pool 1 goes into the top 16. And then in pool 2, the same thing. The top 8 would go into the top 16. So when we go to pool 2, we have a little bit more Djangos here, right? We have 4 Django Fett Tarkentowns in this pool. We have a Sabine ECL, 2 Quinlan Tarkentowns, and a green Han solo list. So again, a bunch of great players. I believe that this Django Fett, I know it's listed as Tarkentown, but it's not, because I think that this is the one that I played. Yeah, as you can see here, yes. So I played him in round 3. I beat him 2-0. He's actually running Django Fett 30 HP base, which I do think is a better matchup for Sabine. So this is just listed wrong, but still a very good player. He finished in 2nd place. And then Dameron, again, Django Tarkentowns. You just see a little bit more Tarkentowns in this event. But in the top 16, 6 Django Tarkentowns is not that big of a deal, right? In my opinion, right? You see 2 Sabine ECLs, 2 Quinlan Tarkentowns. You see 1 Quinlan ECL, 1 Green Han, 1 Von Reg, 1 CAD Blue, 1 CAD Green, and we also have a Han double yellow. So I think that obviously we have the most showing from Django, but overall it's not that bad, right? I don't know. I obviously I think that Django is very strong, but is it a problem? We'll kind of go over it again later on in the video. But overall, I don't want to get like heavy into like talking about this. I know a lot of people have talked about this event in their videos. I just want to talk about how it ended. Philip playing double yellow Han ended up playing George playing CAD Colossus in the finals, and Philip ended up taking it home. So I want to first say congratulations to Philip. Shout outs to Philip, great player, taking home the biggest event this weekend, and you know he deserves it. He plays very well. He's probably, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best player currently. Like, he's so good. He's like, to me, like, he just doesn't make many mistakes, and obviously that's what you have to do to be very good. But again, he's the 6K champion for a reason. He's just that good, right? He's that guy. I also made a promise to him after this event that I would stop playing Sabine ECL or Sabine in general. And again, after I go over my deck list, I'll explain my thoughts on that for sure. But I made him the promise and I plan to stick with it. So we're going to go ahead and now talk about the 2K event, right? So the 2K event is where you kind of see like a little bit, I wouldn't say it's like more diversity, but you see that Django Fett's not the highest represented leader in this top 8, right? So we have in first place, we have Phenom playing CAD Blue, not Colossus, just 30 HP base. CAD Green by Zach, Maclunky Gaming. Shout out to Zach, the mastermind behind CAD Green, right? We have Django Tarkentown, Jeff playing that. Then we have Lau, another Maclunky Gaming, in the top 8, playing CAD Green. We have Grumpy Elephant again in the top 8, Quinlan Voss ECL, Django Fett Tarkentown, and then we have Quinlan Tarkentown, and then me playing Sabine ECL in Top Cut, right? I round out the top 8. And in this event, we did not play out the top 8. It's just you made top 8 and you ended right there, right? But again, a ton of fun in this event. I ended up squeaking out into the top cut, right? First round, it says Yoda Killer Cad Bane, but actually he played Sabine Yellow. I won that 2-0. Bosk Blue, a second matchup. In the first game, he healed like about 30 HP worth of damage, which was kind of tedious, but I ended up sneaking it out with the changes that I made, which I'll go over in a little bit. 2-0. Lau beat me, Cad Bane, Green. It's just made to beat Sabine. It's just so good into Sabine. So Lau beat me 2-0 there. I beat Django Fett Tarkentown in round 4. Then I ended up going up against a Boba Fett Yellow. Took that one. And then we had Quinlan Tarkentown. I won 2-0. Again, a matchup that seemingly a lot of people do think that they that Quinlan has the like favored matchup, but overall I think that, you know, I understand the matchup pretty decently well. And then another Django Tarkentown. This one was kind of unfortunate. I think that in this one, whoever had initiative was going to win. But in game 1, when I did roll for initiative and win initiative, I didn't have a turn 1 play. And it set me back. And it kind of bit me in the butt, right? But overall, I think that, you know, we had a good showing after a poor showing in the 6K. Coming back with my changes to my deck, I felt really confident now after that, right? But overall, you know, I was really happy with how the event turned out. But now I kind of want to go ahead and talk about my deck lists, mainly because it started off one way and then went into another different direction, right? So starting off with my deck list, this is the one I started with first. I didn't expect to basically only see Django Fetts. That was like the majority of which I ended up playing up against. I played a ton of Django Fetts, and it just wasn't built that way. I kept the Sabine's Masterpiece out of one of for the Han matchup. I didn't see a single Han. The Heroic Sacrifice, I probably wanted to go up to 3 Rebel Assaults. I didn't have any Daring Raids, but let's go ahead and let's talk about the differences in this deck list then, like, compared to my 2K deck list, which I think, in my opinion, had some pretty big changes that really did, like, help me in the current state of the game, right? The current meta. And then I'll go over, like, how I feel about Sabine after the fact, right? So I went down to 1 timely intervention. I went to 1 timely in the sideboard, right? I moved the Sabine's Masterpiece fully to the sideboard, just because I didn't feel like I played it that much anyway. I went down to 1 Confiscate in the sideboard, and I moved a Heroic Sacrifice over to the sideboard as well. So from there, we ended up adding in Daring Raid and R2D2s. The R2D2 helped me play, like, use all my resources. Like, if I wanted to play a 3-drop on the turn for resources, right, I can then go ahead and drop an R2 or play a Daring Raid, right, and still have options throughout, right? I ended up dropping down a Green Squadron A-Wing down to 2, just because, like, people attacking into space, there's a lot of space. I felt like putting out the Green Squadron A-Wing more so than the Phoenix Squadron A-Wing would warrant more trade-ins, and your opponent feels better because they're not going to lose their unit. So unless I felt like it was, like, okay, and I felt good about dropping down the Green Squadron A-Wing, most of the time I was playing the Phoenix Squadron A-Wing anyway. And I know that Daring Raid is a thing, and I had to think about that, but I do think that people are more unwilling to trade into a Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, depending on what they're playing, than a Green Squadron A-Wing. So that's why I went down to 2 Green Squadrons and went up, stayed at 3 for Phoenix, right? But overall, the deck list, I also dropped down to 2 Cassians, which I could see going back up to 3, because I do think that overall I might end up moving the Darksabers to the sideboard, if anything, right? Mainly because, like, in the current state of the game, with the ability to tap down a bunch of things, exhaust, bamboozle, Cunning is just super strong right now, and there's a ton of ways to get around upgrades or just exhausting units in general. So you have to get your damage in as soon as possible. You can't risk playing another card or utilizing another action before attacking what's on the board. So keeping Darksaber in my hand at any point felt like I just could never commit to playing it and feel comfortable. So I do think that Darksabers ultimately, if anything, move to my sideboard if I don't want to fully take them out, or just move them fully out, right? I could then go ahead and go up to 3 Cassians, and I might even go up to I don't even know, maybe 3 Wing Leaders, because I think Wing Leader actually is very solid. So I might go 3 Wing Leader, 3 Cassian in that regard. But overall, I think Darksabers have to go, because even when your opponent's tapped out and they're playing Cunning, they can bamboozle, discard a yellow card, and then boom, you're just gone. And not many villainy decks are going to be running it, but again, almost every heroism Cunning deck is going to have it at least in the sideboard. So I do not think that Darksaber is going to be staying. But other than that, adding in the Daring Raid helped me close out so many games. Also helping me take out early plays that only have 2 HP. So, like, Phoenix Squadron A-Wings, Kalatai Silencers, stuff like that. So, like, it just opens up a lot of options, whether I want to go ahead and get that reach that I need, or, you know, just take out a unit that has very little HP remaining, right? R2D2 allowing me to kind of get that cycle to draw into the Poe and the Wrecker. Like, you kind of need those cards in the current state of the game if you're going to play Sabine ECL in your hand by the 5 or 6 resource turn. So R2D2 kind of helps with that. Also allows you to get a body on board. If turn 1, they go ahead and they play a Kalatai Silencer and you Daring Raid and drop an R2, that feels pretty good, right? You have the body, they don't. Even though it's only hitting for 1, it has that 4 HP, and you just get an extra quote unquote ping, right? It's just not bad. And then the cycle, that's what you're really using it for, right? So overall, I think that the deck list that I went into in the first day was just nowhere near as good as this one. And this one obviously is not ideal. Again, I would take out the Darksabers, in my opinion, and kind of work out some other things. Maybe go with Outflank, where we're talking about it over the weekend. Outflank in the sideboard, where against Jango Fett, you go ahead and you run Outflank, and maybe take out some Rebel Assaults, because the Rebel Assaults you need to attack with Rebels. Whereas Outflank, if you have a Rebel and then a Poe, you can Outflank and attack with both, allowing you to get that damage with both units before it gets pinged down. So it's just another option, right? Outflank might be a good option for this deck in the sideboard at least. But overall, I do like the deck. But my overall consensus of Sabine right now is that I don't think it's as strong in the current meta, right? If you ended up going and playing and you got really good matchups in your Swiss, like, yes, I do think that this deck can beat Jango Fett, but it does require a little bit more luck than Jango Fett does require against Sabine, right? You need to have pretty much Poe. You need to pretty much have a wrecker. Like the matchups against Jango Fett, when I was able to play a Poe and then EC out Wrecker to kill the Jango Fett, obviously you're gonna do really well in those games, right? You're setting your opponent back, they can't tap down anything on the 6 resource turn, and you have a Poe most likely on the board that's ready to swing and potentially get 8 damage on the board. So those feel good, right? But there's those turns with triple Dark Raid, and if you don't have those things to take out Jango Fett, then you're just in a really bad spot, and it can just cause a lot of problems. But overall, I think the deck is fine. But I do think that if you want to have more sustained success in the current state of the game, I do think that moving away from Sabine and trying out some other decks might be worth taking a look at. As someone who's played Sabine a lot over these past few sets, I do think it's time, at least for myself, that I am going to be switching over to a different deck. I also did promise Philip, so I got to keep my promise. I'm a man of my word. Philip, I will be playing a different deck for sure. With that being said, I still really enjoy the deck. If things don't go well in the sector, maybe I'll use it in the PQ, but we'll see what happens. Overall, a ton of fun this weekend in the 2K, 6K team event. Again, the Boston Invitational, I'll do it again. If it's another event, I'm there. Team event, anything. Ton of fun. Let's go ahead and talk about the sector, though. That's the main thing I want to talk about at the end of this video, mainly just because a lot of people are freaking out about Jango Fett, and it's because of this, right? Jango Fett getting 7 of the 8 top seeds in this event. That's kind of massive, but that being said, there's a Piat Yellow in there. Shout out to Piat Yellow. But also, you saw in the North American events, like, I think that people, like, this is also a massive event, right? 546 players, like, and it's like, what, day 2 had 70% Jango Fetts. Obviously, with this many players, you're gonna get more Jango Fetts players, right? So even if it is just like 10% or 20%, you have 100 Jango Fett players compared to everything else, right? If you get to 70%, like, you have hundreds of Jango Fett players. So obviously they just have a more percentage chance to be in the top percentage, right? That being said, the deck is extremely strong. Do I think that it deserves a ban? Me personally, and this is someone who was all doom and gloom after day 1 of the 6K before I made my adjustments, I don't think it should be banned. We saw people make adjustments to go up against this deck, and the adjustments work. Give it time, and people can make adjustments and go up against this deck. I don't think that it's like a fun deck to play against. I think it's a very strong deck, but getting rid of it just because it did this is, again, a very early event, right? It was the first sector. Obviously, Jango Fett, everyone knew Jango Fett was probably going to be the best deck, if not like number 2, but in my opinion, it's the best deck. People knew it was going to happen. So with that being said, everyone was going to play it. A lot of people are going to play it, and that's just what happened here. And I think that people can go ahead and adjust for it, and we'll see what happens in Denver. If this same thing happens in Denver, then maybe sure, we could talk about banning it. But I don't think that it even warrants a banning there. If Fantasy Flight would maybe, honestly, I think War Juggernaut, if they just took out War Juggernaut, that might just be enough. Because, like, listen, I understand Triple Dark Raid is really good. Triple Dark Raid, Sneak Attack, Devastator, and Ruthless Raider, very strong. But again, it's used in other decks, and I don't want to hurt other decks. But if you get rid of the War Juggernaut in this deck, I think that it might just be okay. Maybe another card or 2, but the War Juggernaut for sure, because if you have Jango flipped and you play a War Juggernaut, being able to exhaust your opponent's entire board is a little bit rough, because then you just have all of your stuff, and if they don't have immediate answers to majority of what you have on the board, you just lose half the time. So maybe just hitting a card or 2 in Jango could be a good decision, like maybe a card or 2 in Jango that's not necessarily used in other decks as much, right? But with that being said, maybe it's just easy to just ban the leader. And if that's the case, that's what happens, okay? But then you have to also think about the repercussions of just banning Jango Fett, right? Han probably goes up, and then if they ban Jango Fett, maybe they ban DJ, right? It's the combo. There's just a lot of things that we're going to see within these next couple of weeks. I just don't think that the ban is super necessary at the moment, because it's easy to overreact to what happened, but give it time, and I think people will adjust. And we saw that this weekend at the BIATL Invitational Atlanta, that other people, like, yes, 6 out of 16 of the top 16 in the 6K were Django Tarkentown, but, well, Django in general, because one of them was Django 30. I think 2 of them were Django 30. There were decks that beat it, and neither of those Django Fett decks, or none of those Django Fett decks, made it to the finals, right? We had a CAD Colossus, and we had a Han double yellow. Philip's just different, though, because apparently Django Fett has a really good matchup into Han, and I think Philip went, like, I think he only maybe lost 1 or 2 Django Fett Tarkentown decks this weekend, and he played a lot, so he's just built different. That being said, again, Django Fett Tarkentown didn't make the finals, all right? Django Fett Tarkentown, I don't even think was in the top 2 of the 2K, right? I think it was CAD and CAD. So maybe it was CAD. It was, yeah, CAD and CAD. Django Fett was in 3rd. 3 out of the top 4 were CAD in this. So is Django Fett good? Yes. Do we maybe have to look at a card or 2? Sure. But overall, I don't think that we have to ban Django Fett outright right away. Give it some time. Give it to at least Denver, and we'll talk about it then, right? But that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. Again, I had a ton of fun in Atlanta with the team. It was probably my first, like, traveling team event that I've been on, and it did not disappoint. I had a blast. Shout out to Maclunky Gaming. And again, if you haven't done so yet, check down in the description below for Maclunky Gaming's YouTube and Twitch. Follow. They do amazing live streams for live events for Star Wars Unlimited. The commentating by Tower Number 9 is bar none. It's so good. So it's, again, check it out. Make sure you show the support down there. Also, if you are new here, make sure you hit the sub button. Support is always appreciated over here if you're enjoying the content. And with that being said, we're going to go on and get out of here. We'll see you guys on the next video. We're going to be a little bit more consistent going forward. I know I haven't been as consistent as I would like to be, but now that we're going to be moving into the house, I'm going to be able to hopefully get 1 to 2 videos up a week. And as we get more settled in, try to keep more consistent with 2 videos a week. But again, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.